Well, thanks for staying with us. You're watching Firecrackers. Wherever you're watching from around the world, we are live from our studios here in Lagos, Nigeria. And joining me live here in the studio is a public affairs analyst, a business tycoon, amongst many other things. And I'm sure I may not be wrong if I describe him as a youth enthusiast. Bola Oba joins us tonight to discuss issues of herdsmen crisis. We'd like to thank you so much for coming tonight, Bola.
For the opportunity to be on your side.
All right, let's go over to our guests who have joined us virtually, because I understand that Professor Adewale Albert, live from Abuja, has another engagement. He may be leaving us very, very shortly. So we'll begin this conversation with you, Prof, in Abuja. Prof, thank you so much, Professor of African History, Peace and Conflict Studies, University of Ibadan. Thank you so much. Prof, in your views, what exactly are the fundamental issues on ground when you take a look at this, the continuous herders and farmers crisis?
Herdsmen crisis for a long time, but I think it has now reached a crisis point. In security studies, we have 9 levels of conflict escalation. The herdsmen crisis in Nigeria has reached the 8th stage. We have just only one step to go now, and it will become a very big fire that Nigeria might not be able to quench. And I think it is that within that framework that you have what is called ventilation. I see ventilation all over the country. I listen to Governor Ortom, I listen to Governor of Taraba State, I listen to Governor of Oyo State, I listen to Governor of Ondo State. Everybody is complaining that this problem is escalating, and the federal government, rather than solving the problem, is taking sides. And it's a very, very dangerous experience in our history. And I think those who are leading us should listen at this stage. Because if we are not able to manage the small problems in the Northeast, we are not able to manage the problems in the Northwest. How do you manage, escalation of a problem that will cover the whole of Nigeria? We don't have the policemen, we don't have the military men, we don't have those that could handle this problem. So I think at this level, President Buhari should listen to Nigerians, by calling a national meeting to deal with this issue. We have been very careless in managing the problem. We are not the only country that is having herdsmen, but I wonder why we are the only country that is mismanaging this problem in this magnitude. It's a big problem. It's very worrisome. People could no longer go to their villages. They could no longer go to their communities. They are harassed, they are killed. So I think the federal government should please, for the future of Nigeria, intervene at this level. We have just only one step to a total disintegration of the system.
Prof, just before I let you go, Prof, some people have expressed fear that Sunday Ademo's approach to this particular crisis can lead to an ethnic war. What exactly is your position on this?
To me, I think we are giving too much attention to the Igbo dimension of the problem. Go to the Northwest, you will hear of different types of militant leaders that are doing worse things that Igbo has done. Igbo has only threatened. Go to Zamfara State, go around the country. You have several groups across the country. So please, let us not over-celebrate the contribution of Igbo to the issue. It is better for us to address the problem. Yes, Igbo is there, but go to Zamfara State today. The problem they are dealing with is the Yansake kind of problems that you see, you find people who have formed themselves into vigilante movements to defend themselves from the herdsmen. So please, let us not have too much on Igbo. There are several Igbos across the country complaining, saying the same thing. You have just presented one on your program here. A young man there, I think Edo State or whatever, saying that these people are disturbing the communities. Women came out a few weeks ago, they protested to say they are being raped in their farms. So let us not adopt this reductionist approach to the discussion of the problem. The reductionist approach is to keep mentioning the name Igbo, Igbo, Igbo. Is it because he's a Yoruba man?
Moment, stay with us. Let me come back here in the studios and get the initial thoughts of my guest here in Lagos, Bolaba. What do you make of what exactly is playing out, and what would you describe as the fundamental issues when you look at this particular crisis?
Fundamental is the word I like the most in your question. Fundamental. We are at a point where the Sahel is literally disintegrating. And when we say the Sahel, we mean countries from Guinea, Senegal, Niger, Mali. These countries are literally now sustained, especially Mali, Niger. These countries are literally now sustained by the expeditionary forces of France. The only culture that cuts across all this country, the only culture that cuts across all this country because of its itinerant nature is the Fulani culture. From Guinea, Futajalon, they literally, as we know, they literally have members of their race even in Nigeria. However, let's look at it this way. Because of the disintegration and the massive migration of Fulanis, who are mainly the Bororo Fulanis, X-Men, we now have a surge in our country, in Nigeria, as a result of that disintegration. Now let's look at within Nigeria what is happening. The most influential Fulani man in Nigeria today, unarguably, the most influential Fulani man in Nigeria today should be the Sultan of Sokoto. A couple of weeks ago, the Sultan, the most respected Sultan, was reduced to having to say that it is true that 7 in 10 cases of kidnappings, when the perpetrators are caught, happen to be Fulani youths. The president of Magban, Miyetti Allah, the most visible and respected Fulani organization, although is an avocational organization, but the most outspoken Fulani organization, the president, Muhammadu Kirowa, whilst constituting the Northwest Regional Leadership of the association some weeks ago, said Fulani leaders should be ashamed that they have so failed their youth generation that they have now constituted themselves into nuisances in the country. He said the 2 prominent Fulani men said that. Now put that in context of the fact that we now literally have proliferation of reports of, call it herdsmen farmers clashes, call it literally banditry in the Northwest, Fulani perpetrating harm on Fulani civilizations, outside Fulani civilizations. Indeed, as I'm talking to you now, more than 60% of senior Nigerian politicians from the northern part of Nigeria, be it from the Northwest or the Northeast, none of them can go to their natal villages, places where they were born. So in the context of that fundamental situation, you have a presidency that is irresponsible, incompetent, and indeed parochial. Now, what do you have? You have what we have now. Look, let's give it straight to the presidency. The presidency is fueling the disintegration of Nigeria well enough. And it will go that people, when I talk to my friends, let me say this, I need to say this. When I talk to my friends in the diaspora now, Nigerians in the diaspora, Yorubas in the diaspora, they are already contributing money, ready for what may be the worst. Buy arms,
right.
We also have women kids.
Bola, just
and our women could be useful.
Just a moment, Bola. Let's take this conversation now to Abuja again, where Engineer Dr. Kalyani Mohammed joins us. Is the Buhari National Coordinator of Vote Guard and Awareness. He's the Director of Media, Presidential Support Committee. Is also a publisher and journalist. Engineer Dr. Mohammed, thank you so much for joining us on the program tonight. As you get to respond to some of the initial thoughts of my guests here in Lagos and of course Professor Adewale in Abuja, how would you respond to some of their opening reactions to what exactly is playing out in the country as we take a look at the fundamental issues on ground? Engineer Dr. Mohammed. Well, we'll see if we can establish contact with Dr. Mohammed live for us in Abuja. We do have his visuals, I think, but we are yet to establish his audio connection with him. We'll see how we can get that as soon as possible. This is Firecrackers again. Tonight we are taking a look at herdsmen crisis as we review and evaluate the worrying revelations of the Benue State Governor Samuel Ortom. Plus, tonight we're also looking at some of the words of the Taraba State Governor who has called for the licensing. I mean, he has asked that the federal government should indeed approve the use of arms. Well, it does appear that we have Dr. Mohammed back. Well, Dr. Mohammed, we do have your audio now. I hope we can establish your visuals so we can get your initial thoughts and reaction to our focus tonight as we look at herdsmen crisis in Nigeria. We're back at it tonight as we look at the possible consequences of this crisis, the security consequences of it, the agricultural consequences of it as well. So we're going to have also an expert in that area speak with us tonight. Dr. Mohammed, yes, we have you back with us. Dr. Mohammed, yes, we do have you back with us, Dr. Mohammed. Go ahead with your initial thoughts.
Thank you very much for having me. So initially I couldn't hear all our people said, those that you gave the chance to say, but I heard what one professor was saying. The man is too sentimental. If we want this country to remain one united, we must work towards the unity to form a formidable country for our future generations. Let me tell you, let me go to the memory lane. 1,000 years ago, the Fulanis from African countries have been passing through Burtani. There is a route path that they normally...
Engineer Mohammed, just a moment. Engineer Mohammed, we will see how we can come back to you and get your initial thoughts. We need to see how we can fix your framing before we get your thoughts on what you think about the crisis. This is Firecrackers. We're back in just a moment. Stay with us.
Go is not acting out of order. He's acting in the interest of the law. Because, give or take, no tribe will sit down and watch the decimation of his people, be they women or children, or even the men. This lawlessness and hellish brigandage by these bandits has been on for so long. The federal government has failed, and once there is failure from the side of the government, somebody else will rise. That is what we call fear intervention that becomes necessary and inevitable. So Sunday Igboho is acting properly and lawfully. Yes, I say so.
But when it was time for him to tackle cattle rustling that affected the Fulani nation, Muhammadu Buhari was so quick to get into what they need to call fatigue, what we call camouflage, to inaugurate a task force against cattle rustling in Zamfara. So the president has shown his bias. It's the failure of security, it's failure of leadership that made the likes of Sunday Igboho, and the one we're having in the East, Eastern Security Network, taking up arms and trying to chase these people out. Because it's not obvious that the government would not lift a finger unless we chase them out. Am I justifying these sorry for my choice of what these criminality going on in guise of securing your land by Sunday Igboho or Eastern Security Network? No. But this is the precarious situation we found ourselves, and if anything happens to this nation, Muhammadu Buhari should be held responsible. I've not seen a leader that's so insensitive, so weak and obviously biased to security issues.
The consequence should be partnership with the likes of Sunday Igboho. I don't believe that any tribe loves criminality or will support kidnapping, rape, and banditry. But where the institutions created by the society, which is called government, fails to do the needful, definitely there must be some good supervision. And candidly, Sunday Igboho is not bearing unlawful weapons. What he is doing is creating community.
Well, thanks for staying with us. You're watching Firecrackers. Let's see if we can get back down to Abuja where Dr. Mohammed is standing by. Doctor, yes, can we get back now to your initial thoughts as you get to respond to the question at the moment, the fundamental issues of this crisis, as well as your response to some of the initial thoughts of our guests here in Lagos?
But we should not be sentimental. There should be no tribalism or there should be no sectionalism. All we want, we must come as a united entity. The issue of this Fulani, over 100 or 1,000 years ago, these people have been moving from one point to another, including Nigeria. The Burutani path, that the route they created for them today have been overtaken by farmlands and infrastructures. So that's what brought about the issue of crisis between them and the farmers. Because as they are moving, they don't have anywhere to go again. And that brought the issue of the Ruga settlement and the ranching that the government proposed. But because of sentiment, if you can see the governor of Benue State started that sentimental issues by saying they don't want any Ruga settlement. This is what is obtained.
With Dr. Mohammed, we'll see how we can get him back on the program. But well, I'm sure you picked some of his initial thoughts. He has mentioned some things. One of such, which has reoccurred again and again, is the fact that he has said that it does appear that our approach from this part of the country has to do with sentiment. How would you respond to his thoughts?
Very honest with you, I totally disagree with the logic that some Fulani apologists tend to want to use by saying that there has been a cattle route lasting hundreds of years. If there has been a cattle route lasting hundreds of years, there are Yorubas too in Benin, there are Yorubas in Togo, there are Yorubas in Bahia, Brazil. They shouldn't need a passport to just come to Nigeria and come and stay. It is utterly irresponsible of anybody who is a Nigerian and who carries a Nigerian passport to say some people, because of the cultural affinity they have with a set of people in Nigeria, can just literally walk into the territory of Nigeria without any form of documentation. It is utterly irresponsible. And that is the fundamental principle that nurtures the belief of this irresponsible presidency. That is the fundamental principle. The principle that nurtures the irresponsibility of this presidency. Look, Nigeria is in a light state of civil war now. President Muhammadu Buhari should congratulate himself.
Yes, okay, let's look at the approach of Sunday Igboho, who many have said such an approach may probably or possibly lead to an ethnic war. Is that something?
We are already there. Don't fool yourself. If you don't know it, let me announce it to you officially that Nigeria is already in a light state of civil war. We are now in civil war light. No story about it. You know what? You know what? An average Yoruba man now, especially those who are in the diaspora, are so resolved. Ironically, many of them supported Muhammadu Buhari in 2015 and in 2019 for his re-election. But as I'm talking to you now, if you do a polling of the Yoruba diaspora, especially in the northern hemisphere, Europe and North America, they are so resolved now that they are even literally contributing money. So anybody should not be talking about Sunday Igboho. The picture is now bigger than Sunday Igboho, because under Buhari, one, he is seen, he is perceived to be heading on the Fulani arrogance and Fulani expansionism. Ironically, that's number one. Number two is that under Buhari, the criminal justice system has totally collapsed. When you live in any environment where you perceive the criminal justice system to have totally collapsed, there's 27 ministries, departments and agencies constitutionally, like the armed forces, Army, Air Force, Navy, and statutorily as enacted by law, made by the National Assembly. 27 ministries, departments and agencies dedicated to security in Nigeria. 27. And human life has become so cheap that they just frequently kill people, and the best we get to hear of it are reports which are not even very comprehensive enough. And you know what? Right. Some of those institutions are even seen to be supporting the Fulanis. In the case of Ogun State, you have the report.
We will stay with this issue, especially now that the governor of Benue State is calling for the federal government to license the use of arms, as well as the governor of Taraba State. But we'll take a break. When we come back, that's our focus as we look at this issue. Whether or not if we should go in that direction, should the federal government approve the use of arms? That's in a moment. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
In this situation, if Section 215 is saying that an Inspector General of Police shall be appointed from amongst the serving police officers, a retired policeman is no longer in the service of Nigeria Police Force. So in this case, we don't have an Inspector General of Police. Strictly sensu, in the eye of the law, there is no Inspector General of Police. And again, the government, by saying that he is extending the tenure for another 3 months, it marks incompetence.
So the action of the president unfortunately falls within the ambit of unconstitutionality, because it's a contravention of the provisions of the Constitution with respect to section 215 and 216 of the Constitution. As regards how police chief, otherwise known as IGP, so the police should be appointed, the tenure of his office and tenure of the service of a police officer, and then whether the president has the capacity to extend or elongate that tenure.
The case of the present IGP, the problem is that he mandatorily ought to have retired on Monday, which happened to be the 1st of February 2021. But unfortunately, they allowed his tenure to expire. And then 2 days thereafter, they now say that they have extended his tenure or his service. The problem with that particular extension is that at the time of the extension, he was no longer a serving police officer as prescribed by the provisions of the Constitution. The way it is, there is no how. It will give room, the extension will give room to unhealthy, is it rivalry now, unhealthy rat race. People will now be scheming and doing things which will breed another corruption. The person that may be appointed may not be based on merit. So the president is not doing anything. He has not been fair to Nigerians. You cannot say you don't see anybody to replace this person, except you are doing it on, some sentimental disposition.
There are the police council, members of police service commission, that will be consulted before IGP will be appointed. And section 215 said that the person must be a serving police officer. Serving police officer, which means he must be serving. He must be within.
Well, thanks for staying with us, legal practitioners, there on the extension of the tenure of the Inspector General of Police by another 3 months from Mr. President, of course. Another subject of controversy, but Bola, let's even begin with that. Do you think that is a right move? Do you think that this would indeed contribute to some of the issues on ground, the extension of the tenure of the IGP?
It's unfortunate that the presidency keeps defining itself as a totally irresponsible and incompetent entity, especially this president. Oh, the outgoing Inspector General, did he serve for 1 hour? Or did he serve for 1 day? Did he serve for 1 week? Did he serve for 1 month? Did he serve for 1 year? So, within an institution...
This is not the first time in the history of this country where the extension...
When I hear that from journalists, immediately I hear that from many journalists, I take that journalist to be responsible. You know why? You know why? You know why I take this journalist to be responsible? You know why? Do you want to speak to the dignity of your constitution or using examples of perfidious conduct in the past?
Well, what does the Constitution say?
Do you want to speak to the dignity of
the Constitution empowers the president to take such decisions. I mean, he has...
You are totally wrong. Go and learn and go and read.
Well,
I said go read. I said go read. The Constitution says that when the Inspector General or any officer of the status, when he reaches the climax of years of service, 35, or when he reaches a certain age, he must go, and there is a process of replacement. So, if because in the past you have irresponsible presidents from Olusegun Obasanjo, I'm showing you how people like you encourage the lack of respect for the rule of law in Nigeria.
You cannot describe a former president as irresponsible on this platform.
Because you have just alluded to the fact that he was irresponsible by acting against the dictate of the Constitution.
But the fact is this: the tenure of the IGP has been extended by 3 months. How does that impact on the security of the nation at the moment?
Look, what is the condition of security as we speak? Do we have security?
If the IGP had done well and his tenure extended, would you be feeling this angry?
Has it so done well that we are now celebrating
if the IGP
the state of security in Nigeria?
That's a question for you to answer. If the IGP had done so well, will Nigerians be angry when the president extended tenure of such?
Oh, should Nigerians be celebrating the fact that the president has chosen to disrespect the integrity of the provisions of the Constitution?
We can go back and forth on this.
I'm just asking you to, because we are both Nigerians.
Let's go to this issue of arms, which the governor of Benue and Taraba states have called that there's a need for Nigerians to probably begin to carry arms, AK-47s to be precise. They have called for a licensing so that individuals or private citizens can also carry that, so that they can also protect themselves. in quote, great idea, you think, especially when you take a look at a country such as America where there have been issues of gun battles?
You want me to be very honest with you?
Very honest. Your thoughts?
Very honest with you. The real politique of the circumstance of Nigeria now is that from gated estates to communities to states, people are already spending big on arms. Big. Big. You know what I mean by big? You may not know because but from gated, if you live in gated estates in Lagos and you are one of the owners of the properties there, we already contribute monies to buy arms. You know why? Because you know we believe that the institutions of state have collapsed.
All right.
And you know what? The governor was only...
have to go now. The governor was only... In 30 seconds or less, what are your final thoughts on this?
The presidency has to rejig its game. President Muhammadu Buhari is acting, unfortunately, like a president that is totally absent from his post. Totally absent. He needs to wake up. Nigeria is literally disintegrating in his palms. And history will remember him negatively if he allows this deep drop to total disintegration to happen. His legacy is already being challenged. I don't care. Many of my friends are his spokespersons. Many of my friends work for him. Many of my friends are so close to him. But you know what? Because of what they hang.
I guess that's a good place to anchor our conversations tonight. We'll see how things play out as regards security in the country. Bolagba, I would like to thank you so much for your views for the opportunity and your thoughts tonight. This is where we have to anchor our conversation tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being on the other side. I'm so sorry we could not connect again to some of our guests who I understand who have been trying to connect with us to express their thoughts and their views on the program. Well, let's see how we can come back next week on the show as we keep talking about issues of national interest. I am Kelly Egiga. Bye for now.